Hey guys, welcome back here to the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check out today's video. Got a good one for y'all today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite places to catch bass anytime the water temperatures in the 40s or 50s, and that is a channel bank. They are really good in the wintertime and early spring. You can catch them on them all year long, but man, you can catch some good fish on them. Anytime from about now, time of filming this video is January, up until about early April. So we're going to get into that today's video. And also guys, I have a little on the water footage in this video of a channel bank that I'll put here in the video here just a second here. Also guys, real quick, you may have heard me talking about a couple days ago, Megabass has got a new spy bait called the Level Swimmer here guys. This is an awesome wintertime lure. If you've never fished a spy bait before, it's really easy to do. You just put it on 4 to 6 pound test line, throw it out there. It's a slow sinker, count it down to the depth you think the fish are. And it's a real subtle bait. It's got like a little wobble to it and the propellers for the flash. A really good bait as a backup bait. If you're catching fish on a jerk bait or an A-rig or swim bait, that's the same type of water you throw the spy bait in. So I'll put my Megabass Level Swimmer link in the description of the video if you guys want to try one out, but it's definitely a good bait that doesn't get fished very much, so appreciate that. Okay, channel banks here guys, real quick. Let me get you, before we get started in the video here, I'm going to share that video here in a second. Channel banks, first of all, are really good places for bass to move up and down on, because a channel bank, basically it's just what it says. It's a rocky bank, or doesn't have to be rock, it could be gravel or clay even, where the creek channel swings up real close to the bank. It doesn't necessarily have to hit the bank sharp, but it's usually within 30 or 40 feet away from the bank where the old creek channel drops off. Now these are places that have immediate access to deep water. They're good staging areas. Bass move up and down them all year long. So really good structure. So let's look at this video real quick that gives you a good example of what a channel bank is, and then we'll come back here and I'll do some more commentary. Okay, here's another one of my favorite wintertime jerkbait locations, and that is a channel bank. Now this channel bank can be located on a creek arm or main lake, and what identifies a channel bank from just a regular rocky bank is the proximity of this bank to deep water. Now, right here, we've got a steep bank, steep rocky bank, 45-degree angle, maybe even a 60-degree angle. You got the creek channel right here. Now, this would be a good area. A lot of people would throw like a crankbait parallel to this. This is an excellent type of a bank to fish a jerkbait on. Now, what I do in this particular situation, again, it depends on the water clarity. I'm going to get my boat in anywhere between 10 to 20 foot away from the bank here, and I'm going to make long parallel casts straight down the channel bank here, and I'm going to target sort of that 8 to 20 foot zone. You know, if the water clarity is like it is right here, 4 to 5 foot clarity, these fish are probably going to be in 15 or 20. But these channel banks are just like we talked about before. They're like highways that these fish move up and down. They don't get a lot of pressure, and just cover water, parallel these things, and just fish every one of them you see. And most of them, most channel banks come to a point at some part. You can see up there, way up there, that's a point, and that's going to be a high percentage area, but don't overlook just these straight sections of channel banks like this. Okay guys, let's dive into a little bit more detail on channel banks. I just wanted to show you that clip to give you sort of a visual of what one looks like. Channel banks, as far as the technique you want to use, I want to talk about that specifically, because depending upon some variables, there's different type of techniques that'll be more productive. And usually it's like everything else in bass fishing, it's centered around your combination of your water clarity and your water temperature. Now, let's talk a little bit about fishing channel banks when the water temperature is in the 40s, and then we'll talk about it in the 50s. When the water temperature is in the 40s, this is usually January, February for the most part. This is when a lot of those fish are going to be suspended on those channel banks. You can catch some fish on the bottom with them, but one of the things that I like to do if the water temperature is in the 40s is I want to fish channel banks that have a little bit clearer water. I don't do that good in off-colored water on channel banks if the water visibility is like less than 3 feet. So if the water is greater than 3 feet, they're good places to fish. Anything over 3 foot visibility is going to be really good. One of the things you're going to find is when that water temperature is in the 40s on a channel bank is those fish relate to the bank, but they may not necessarily be close to the bank. They may be 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 foot out off the bank, depending upon the slope of it and the water clarity. And this is when, like I was saying in the video, a jerkbait Alabama rig, a swim bait, something like that, or even the spy bait that I was just talking about can be a really good technique. So based upon the water clarity, I like to parallel those channel banks and fish and target those suspended fish, either with a jerkbait, a rig, or a swim bait. Really trying to focus on that 10 to 30 foot range, depending upon the clarity. Obviously, the clearer the water, the more they're going to be out a little deeper, and also the clearer the water, the more they're going to be suspended over deeper water. Probably my number one bait, like I said in that video, for a channel bank where it's in the 40s, is just making long parallel casts with a jerkbait. Now, when the water temperature gets in the 50s, this is when channel banks really get good. That's probably the best time to fish a channel bank, is when the water temperature is in the 50s in the springtime of the year, because this is one of the first places that the big fish move up into. All of those bigger females that are getting ready to spawn, like in April, they'll swim up on those channel banks and they'll feed there, they'll stage there, they get around channel points, channel banks, and they just sort of hang around those areas when the water's in the 50s, waiting to make their move up into some type of a nearby flatter cove to spawn. And that's why traditionally, like March and February and early April are when you catch most of your big fish, because that's when those bigger fish are up shallow and more catchable. And that's why they're on those channel banks for a lot of times. When that water is in the 50s, I've got a diversity of different techniques that I use. Probably my favorite way to catch them when the water's in the 50s is on a crankbait, like a rock crawler, a wiggle wart, some type of a crawdad crankbait, parallel on those rocky banks. Ideally, I like to have water visibility. 2 to 5 foot clarity is pretty good with that. Crankbait will catch a lot of quality fish, and it'll catch numbers too. If you want big fish, or you want to focus on a big fish, this is a great place to slow roll a spinnerbait or chatterbait. Make a 45-degree angle cast to your channel bank and just sort of slow roll that bait. Try to keep it, 2 to 3 feet off the bottom. Just fishing like a big gizzard shad. That's when those fish feed on gizzard shad and big threadfin shad that time of year. Just a big spinnerbait, like a 3/4 ounce model with a big number 6 willow leaf blade. Really good to slow roll on that. You can also catch them on a jerkbait. As long as the water's in the 50s, jerkbait can be really, really productive. In fact, sometimes it's better when it's in the 50s. And then finally, a bait that I use a bunch on the channel bank is pitching a full-size jig, like my Blaukat Throwback jig. Just pitching it to the channel banks and just working it down that channel bank. Targeting, again, sort of that 3 to 10 foot zone. Usually some type of a brown or brown and orange. Brown and orange is really good anytime you're fishing when the water temperature's in the 50s. But the difference between catching bass on water temperatures on a channel banks when the water's in the 40s or the 50s is the water temperature in the 50s will open up a lot more diversity of techniques. Literally, you got crankbait, you got jig, you could pitch a creature bait, you got a spinnerbait, you got a chatterbait, you got a jerkbait, different type of swim baits. Maybe even a glide bait, something like that could possibly work if the water's high enough in the 50s. But the thing about it, guys, is that's what you want to focus in on. If I could give you one piece of advice for fishing in February and March, is concentrate on channel banks. Now, most of the time, the better channel banks are in your major creek arms, although main lake can be okay too, but they're just really good places, man. They're high percentage areas for bass. You don't have to have cover on them. All you need is rock. It can be bluff, it can be big rock, it can be baseball-sized rock. Bass live there. I mean, it's a really good spot to catch them this time of year. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.